Terrorism in Brazil has occurred since at least the 1940s by Japanese terrorists. During the Brazilian military government, all opposition to the military regime was termed terrorism. Islamic terror groups have also been active in Brazil. Terror organizations. Shindo Ranmei. The Shindo Ranmei were a Japanese-Brazilian terror organization whose attacks were focused on resistance to the Japanese surrender at the end of World War II. Attacks were perpetrated against other Japanese Brazilians. Islamic terror groups. According to the Brazilian Federal Police, at least 7 Islamic terror groups operate in Brazil: Al-Qaeda, Jihad Media Battalion, Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Al-Jama'ah al-Islamiyya, Moroccan Islamic Combatant Group. These groups operate inside the national territory and most are also known to operate on the border of Paraguay and Argentina with Brazil, under the Brazilian military government. During the Brazilian military government from 1964 to 1985, terrorism was a term frequently used by the state. All forms of opposition to the military regime was considered as forms of terrorism. Opposition members were termed terrorists. While an incident of right-wing terrorism occurred in 1981, known as the Rio Centro 1981 May Day attack, present on the 21st of July 2016, 2 weeks before the scheduled start of the Olympic Games, Brazilian Federal Police busted an Islamic jihadist terrorist ring plotting to wreak havoc in a manner similar to the 1972 Munich massacre. 10 people allied with ISIS were arrested and 2 more are on the run. Additionally, the terror group has been aggressively encouraging lone wolf attacks to target athletes from the UK, US, France and Israel, suggesting the use of poisons or explosives attached to drones. Responses and counter-terrorism efforts. The Brazil government has 4 pieces of terrorism legislation pending in Congress. Visa denials. In 2011, legislation was introduced to deny visas to persons and/or expel foreigners convicted or accused of a terrorist act in another country. Terrorism during the World Cup. In 2011, legislation was introduced that deals with specific crimes including terrorism, during and preceding the World Cup. Penal Code update. Legislation in 2012 sought to update the Brazilian Penal Code to include sentencing guidelines for terrorism crimes. Terrorism definitions. Legislation in 2013 sought to define terrorism under the Brazilian Constitution. Criticism. There is a large concentration of Middle Eastern immigrants in the area near the Paraguay-Argentina-Brazil border. Some authorities monitoring the area have stated that Brazil should participate more in the international fight against terrorism.